Now, in pursuance of the government's objective and as part of efforts to reach its 3 million barrels per day output target in 2023, the federal government on June 1st, 2020, through the Department of Petroleum Resources, announced the launch of a new marginal field bid round for 57 available marginal fields. The DPR also released the guidelines from Farm Out and Operations of Marginal Fields 2020, covering the bid process, the award and farm out of the marginal fields. 1 year after the Department of Petroleum Resources opening the bidding for the 57 marginal fields at the peak of the global COVID-19 pandemic, there have been issues concerning non-performance by investors, which has led the DPR to revoke the licenses of 11 marginal fields, including Dawes Island, a marginal field located in OPL 2006, Okrika, River State. According to the DPR, the decision is in the best interest of the nation and the growth of the oil and gas industry, as the government is losing a lot of revenue on these assets in form of taxes and royalties, while an estimated 40 million barrels of petroleum remain unproduced. Well, joining me live in our studio to discuss this Monday afternoon is Mr. Michael Fanero. He's a business management consultant, oil and gas policy advisor. He was the work team lead industry restructuring at the Facility Oil Sector Transformation, a DFID-funded program with the objective of pursuing and actualizing the desired reforms in the Nigerian oil and gas industry. He has over 19 years of management consulting with experience in areas such as corporate and growth strategy, organization designs, process optimization, human performance improvement, and supply chain optimization. His experience spans across oil and gas, power, financial services, manufacturing, agriculture. I can go on and on. Mr. Michael Fanero, it's good to have you in the studio.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Like I said, the DPR recently revoked licenses of 11 of marginal field operators. There's failure to meet up terms and all of these issues to also develop these assets, because there's a lot of money we're talking about this in it. Now, what do you think? They were not able to do something for like 17 years. That's been dormant for like 17 years. What is your take with regards to this move? Let's start that way.
So the terms relinquishment, reassignment, and revocation is a normal term in the oil and gas industry, and is what the regulators do in oil and gas. But in Nigeria, we have not really been doing it very well. The regulator have not really been living up to the expectation because they've not been truly independent. Before you have the regulator who is even tied to the apron of the minister and things like that. So because of this, things like this have gone for a long period of time. Under normal circumstances, we'll not even be waiting for 17 years for DPR or for the regulator to actually act. So I believe that the DPR has acted well in revoking some of those licenses, because licenses that you have for 17 years that are not producing has been depriving the country the opportunity to earn revenue. Because when you have revenue potential, but somebody is sitting down on it for 17 years, it's not producing, we are not earning taxes, we are not earning royalty, we cannot earn revenue. So the DPR, I believe, is part of their, they have the power to actually to revoke some of those licenses. So I think it's very, very right in order that DPR now is now living up to its billing. Well, with the PIB coming in place, you can see that the PIB has actually created a seemingly independent regulator which will be acting this. So it's part of purview of the DPR to revoke licenses of non-performing oil wells or non-performing licenses, because it has denied the country the opportunity to earn revenue for that long. In fact, they shouldn't have waited for that 17 years for them to have revoked.
No, we are yet to meet up with our quota, talking about international oil market, and we need development, both infrastructural and developmental. Now, do you think the country should now pander to the emotional arguments pushed by some of the operators who lost their licenses?
No, I think we need to separate emotions from principle and emotion from law here. The thing is that, okay, take for example, about 2 weeks ago, OPEC has actually OPEC made an announcement that it's going to cut, going to eliminate this issue of production cuts. So that means that gives Nigeria the opportunity by April 2022 we'll be able to supply about 1.8 million barrels into OPEC basket. So where are we going to get this? So we can't get all this on feed that are not producing. So we need to separate emotion from this. The government has acted well, and I believe government should actually review most of these portfolios and see what are the non-performing assets, so that they can actually revoke this and give to people who are going to use this thing. Remember, some of these licenses that they are revoking are being in their hand for 2003. In 2003, most of the licenses that were granted, most of them did not actually operate up until today. So in fact, there was a joke. I was in a meeting. In fact, it was a foreigner, and what he said was that when Nigerians, when they go for bid run and they get their license, you see them on Wall Street and they are hawking the licenses, just like you see the BDC, local BDC guy. You go through maybe the way they come and call you, do you want to buy $? You see them holding their licenses. So a lot of people do not have anything they want to do with license because they already have maybe political connection, they have the financial power and things like that. So they find a way to get this, and that's why we are talking about some of the discretionary award that the ministers are already normally have. So you see ministers having a discretionary award that can just award license. They don't follow the normal way. So because of these, people acquire most of these licenses, and they don't have anything to do. They don't have the financial capacity, and they don't have the capital, the technical capacity, and they just sit down on this thing waiting for it to sell. Just arbitrary, just okay, you buy it 2 naira, let me just sell it for somebody with 5 naira. But that's not what the country needs. Country needs somebody who is going to buy this. Get a technical partner, get investor, and because until this is produced, the country is not earning anything. So this is actually going to be wasted. And knowing, we know fully that energy transition that we are talking about is not just a buzzword. Energy transition is real. So we have about 35 billion liters of barrel of crude oil under the ground now. And we with our production, we do 2 million. With the production, we only said in the next 25 years, we would have been able to do only half of it. That means if you don't take time, it's going to become like coal. It's going to be like cowrie. That is going to just be underneath it, and nobody is using it. There's a school of thought that believe in conservation. I don't believe in that school of thought. I believe we should pump this. We should pump everything that we have and use it to industrialize the country. But how do we do this if we pander to the people that are sitting on this? So I don't believe in emotion. I think people should come to the reality that the country is not making anything, and we are at the verge of losing everything that we have if we don't extract the resources now and make use of it to make Nigeria to be an industrialized country ahead of the curve, ahead of that energy transition era.
I know we've both spoken very well about PIB, but I'm being particular, and I had to even put this down now. The new governance structure of the PIB that separates government oil and gas business through NNPC Limited and regulatory duties to through the NURC upstream and NMPDR, and of course the presidency requiring Senate's confirmation of 9 members governing boards of these bodies. What do you make of all of this, or how does it come to you as an expert?
So just like I mentioned, so it's just an attempt to find independence, to find independent bodies. So before, you have a minister who is a policy maker, at the same time is more or less a regulator, award licenses discriminately. You have the NNPC, who is supposed to be a commercial entity, again performing the work of a regulator. You don't blame them because there's a vacuum, so they step in most of the time to actually perform the work of the regulator. So what the PIB has done is to separate policy making from regulation, from commercial operation, commercial activity of government. And within, so you have the policy making now rests on the minister. So you have a minister who is responsible for policy making. He makes all the policies and again provides oversight to some of these regulators. And oversight is not controlling them. It's about, for example, approving some of the things that are done. For example, when there is a bid round, for example, they will make recommendations to the minister, and the minister approves. And even, I believe it came out with this PIB that if within some days, if the minister does not approve it, it's saying that it's been approved. So that has created a situation where we have the policy making differently. Then in terms of the regulation, you have the upstream regulator and we have downstream regulator. So it's a value chain based regulation that we are doing. So you have people who are regulating the upstream, we have people who are regulating the downstream. And you have an NNPC now that is now supposed to be a commercial entity.
Yes.
That is going to be subject to common law. So they're going to be making their own profit. They are not going to be either around the government. So they are going to be saying, we are going to have stakeholder. Government is a stakeholder. And maybe in the future they can even divest, and you can even have you and I buying one share, one unit of share, anybody buying, and if you are buying from any commercial entity, you expect a profit. So that has been done. And for example, so based on what we are talking about, marginal fee. So when you now have an independent regulator, it will now have the opportunity to actually carry out carry out this kind of activities in such a way, we'll not be waiting for 17 years for us to revoke licenses that are not performing. Because when you are signing these licenses, there would have been, you sign it that, okay, within so period, you are going to pay.
Exactly.
In 2003, many people were not able to even pay the signature bonuses. So that one is there. They couldn't pay, they didn't pay. So then you have your free development plan that says, in year 1, I'm going to do this. In year 2, by year 5, I'm going to be eating first oil and things like that. So by the time you are not following your FDP, then they come in and see that you are not making any progress. They can revoke. They have the power to revoke it. You sign it. Then they revoke it and give to somebody else who's going to use it normally. It's just like you give somebody a land to go and farm. And the guy is not doing anything. So if you're not farming, it's not farming corn, you are not going to get anything as the person who has leased it. And even the populace is going to die of hunger. So that's the way it is. So this PIB has actually put the issue of governance, because governance is a key issue in the industry. Governance, accountability, transparency. Those are some of the key issues that we have in the industry. And with the PIB coming into place, if it's well implemented, I think the governance issue is actually going to become a thing.
Staying with that PIB and the new awardees, now how do you intend, how do you think they should proceed?
So, okay, the new bid ran in 2020. Now, if you look at the PIB, there's a section in the PIB that talks around drill or drop. So the principle behind drill or drop is that when I give you a block, when I award you a license, it's either you use that license. If you don't use it, you are going to drop it. So there's going to be a number of years, whether 3 years, whether 5 years. So if I award a license to you, it's stipulated that within maybe 90 days, I can't remember how many days or how many months that you have to pay. So you pay your signature bonuses, then you get your investor, you get whoever the technical partner, and you start producing. So if you don't produce, then it is government or the regulator is going to take it away from you. So now it's embedded in law. So that's what they normal this thing, drill or drop. So, and this applies to them. So what any one of them needs to do now is, if they don't have the technical capacity, they need to go and get a technical partner. If they thought it's going to be like the 203, well, it is not going to be like the 203 award. So this time around, if you don't do anything with the block that have been awarded to you, you are going to lose it, and what you pay to government is not going to be refunded to you.
True.
So it's better for you to actually go ahead and utilize it. Get a way to be efficient with your production and make sure you are able to break even as well.
Just like this example, the Ogbela oil field that's carved out of OML 54, operated by Niger Delta Petroleum Resources, and you see attaining production at 2005 and becoming the third-party supplier to NLNG in 2012. As we look at this new set of guys, this looks like a very good example to me. What do you consider to be the extended benefits of operational efficiency of this nature? So,
for example, now you have the independent. Before the sector is dominated by the IOCs, but now you have the independent operators. You have the indigenous oil and gas company operating under the banner of IPPG, and a lot of them, like the NDPR is one of them, are producing quite a lot, doing gas and having a lot of production. So if these guys have not been marginal feed that are not might not be commercially, it cannot make sense commercially for a big company, for example, maybe in terms of the size, in terms of the reserve size. So those ones are categorized as marginal feed. People who are playing small can now produce that one profitably. And those are some of the things that may not interest any big player. So that, for example, the one is carved out for NDPR, I can see now they are producing, and they are producing to LPG. These are the things that we would have lost. We would have just been waiting for people to produce, and it might not be their priority. And even in the new law, there is the fact that after you are awarded a license, maybe after 10 years, you need to relinquish about, is it 10 or 20% of that? After some 12 years, you need to relinquish 50%. So that means as soon as you are using in some of the area that may not be very profitable in terms of the result that is available, you need to relinquish it and be awarded to marginal players. So for me, this is the example of actually that drill and drop, or give to somebody who is ready to use the asset.
The Petroleum Act and the PIB in Section 99 also states that if 2 or more persons hold a license, grounds for revocation might also apply to one person. It's generally agreed that this will affect or formulate of assets and attributable to the operators. This to me looks a little bit, I need you to just help us understand what this stands for. What is your take on this?
So yeah, what my understanding around that is that you can see a situation where you can have JV arrangement, or maybe the PIB might anticipate that maybe in future you and I can come together, and and buy and get the same license, or we appear together.
Yes.
And based on that, we have the roles and responsibility of each party. Maybe, for example, I'm supposed to bring 100 million, you're supposed to bring 100 million. I put my 100 million on the table and we are working, but you have not put your own share on the table for us to work. So if government is going to, if the regulator is going to revoke that, they may not revoke, because for me, I've met my own side of the obligation. If you have not met your own side of obligation, I think your own part can actually be revoked. Then in some cases, if I'm the one that has won a feed, and I invite you, that one may not be known to DPR because I just invite you to be my JV partners at the end of the day.
You are the one that is known to.
I'm the one that is known. So at the end of the day, it's revoked. But that has nothing to do with the other party, because the other party is just working with you. It's not known to the law. So what that PIB anticipates is a situation where 1 or 2 or 3 parties are joint owners of this, and some are meeting their obligation and others are not meeting their obligation. So the part who are not meeting their obligation, that probably
another part is that, do you think that operators should be made to maybe pay compensation when they leave all of this all of these assets inoperative for years? What do you think, like the ones that are giving some excuses or verifiable excuses, like the isolated force majeure?
Well, it's not in the law that they should pay government. But maybe if you look at it, should they be paying government? Maybe yes or maybe no, because you sat on something for many years, and government would have made projection. For example, we are running deficit budget. It's because we are not making enough money. So if those kind of fees are actually coming into operation, we would have made more money. So, but it's not in the law. So when it's not in the law, we cannot approve. But however, what I need to point out is that it's morally wrong for anybody, and I think we need to look at it from nationalistic perspective. That is, it's morally wrong for any entity or for any business to actually want to hold government to ransom. When you are not producing by now, raising a lot of agitation, you can go to court. Court is for everybody to bet. Again, holding government to ransom, and it's not the right way, because you are denying the government the opportunity for taxes. You are denying the government the opportunity for royalty. For example, I think the case you mentioned, I think that was the case that got to the House of Reps. The House of Reps was making. For example, we need to allow the regulator to work, because if everything the legislator, when it's not under their purview, dabbling into some of these issues, it will discourage investors, because when investors come and okay, I can't take regulator to court, I can't go to court, somebody is going to go to the National Assembly, and the National Assembly is going to impede the work of the regulator. Then it's not going to go well. That means every effort that we are doing with PIB to actually bring investor may not yield. So I would think every organ of government should allow every other person to be independent. Let everybody work what they need to do. Let the regulator do the work, what they need to do. So if anybody is not happy with the way it's been treated, the court is there. But taking somebody to National Assembly, to get the National Assembly to now be stopping the work of DPR or whoever, I don't think it's good, and I don't think it's morally right for us to sit on assets and deny government money. If you know you don't have the capacity, don't apply. But if you apply, then get people who have the capacity. And in some cases, what I've seen again is that people get these licenses, and maybe investor wants to come, and investor say, okay, I'm going to get equity, but people don't want to. They don't want to dilute their equity. Those are some of the issues. I've seen it a long time, because people are greedy. They don't want to dilute their equity. So because of that, the technical partner cannot work with them. So at the end of the day, it's not just you that is affecting. It's affecting government. It's affecting me, because as long as government does not have money, it cannot build rule. They cannot fight insecurity and things like that. So for me, I think it's disservice to the country when you see that on government asset and you are not doing anything to it. So maybe tomorrow somebody is going to raise that provision for them to pay to the government. As it is now, there is no provision for anyone to pay back to government.
But let's look at from an investor's perspective. Now, how do you see post-PIB oil and gas industry in the Nigeria's landscape?
One of the benefits of PIB is actually to attract investors. The fiscals especially, like I mentioned to you earlier, sometimes ago, what investors look at is predictability.
Yes.
So once the investor is able to predict what is going to happen, it's not better your fiscal fiscal times is good or your tax is good or not. That's not what an investor looks. Investor at every time is modeling his cost, is modeling his revenue, and say, okay, does it make sense for me? Does it make sense for me? So if you know government is going to take 80%, he models that 80%. He has his model. He put 80%. Okay, if I can produce, if I produce so barrel, I'm not going to break even. Okay, how can I make sure I'm efficient to do this? Okay, if my cost is so, you know, they play with they do a lot of scenario analysis. So that allows, so with this now that the fiscal is out now, the jury is out now, we know what government wants to take from the gas fee, what government wants to take from offshore, from onshore. So they are able to predict what is going to happen. And I see this one allowing us to have investors. Like we mentioned the other time, the investors are entering into Africa. They were not able to come to Nigeria because we've been repealing, we've been working on our laws for many years. But now the law is being passed, though we still have a lot to do. It's not been assented to. There have been a lot of agitation. I just appeal to anybody who is agitating to at least let's even play with what we have now, and we can be making adjustments. You can be making adjustments as we go. But again, I see from my own where I sit, I see that this is actually going to attract investors. The governance sector that we mentioned is now done well. The midstream sector, where we attract a lot of investment because the PIB, what it has done is to create a distinct midstream sector, which I see that's where the employment opportunity is. That's where we see the impact on the GDPs. That's where we see we can even build the gas-based industry. For me, that is even one of the great things. You know, I'm so emotional to the gas, because when we are talking around transition, God has already blessed us with transition energy, which is gas. So what we need to do now is let's pump as much as possible any field that is not working, that is not producing. The regulator should go and take them and give to people who are ready to deploy resources and pump this oil out. Let's make revenue and use that one now to industrialize the country, to develop gas industrial park, to develop petrochemical plants, so that we are ready for that transition era, so that we can be earning money. You know, that for me, our future is in that gas industrialization in Nigeria.
It's always a pleasure having you on the show, management consultant and oil and gas policy advisor, Mr. Michael Fanero. Thank you for spending your Monday afternoon with us on Business Nigeria.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
All right there.